There we go. Check, check, quick sound check. Can everybody hear us loud and clear? What's going on, Coach Paul?
Hey, Coach Jay, can hear you loud and clear. Glad to be back.
Good to have you back. Hopefully you're feeling better, Coach.
Just a little bit.
Just a little
Just
bit.
a little.
There's some stuff going around, so make sure you drink your ginger tea, uh, some lemon tea, maybe some turmeric as well. But welcome everyone to At the Buzzer, our market recap. If this is your first time here, I am Coach Jay. That is Coach Paul. The goal of this segment is to review what happened in the markets for the day. We may talk about some markets that you have not traded before, but we believe our goal as traders is to identify opportunity, see how we could have taken advantage of those opportunities while managing our risk. If this is our first time meeting, I'm Coach Jay. I've been a Topstep Performance Coach since June of 2023. I've been trading for the past 12 years and in the futures markets for the past 5, and that is Coach Paul. Coach Paul, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Coach Paul. I'm a performance coach here at Topstep. I've been with Topstep for a year and a half. I've been involved in the futures industry for 4 decades. I'm here to share my experience and some knowledge and hopefully make you a better trader.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Coach. And shout out to Goldfinger, says this is the best show on YouTube. Goldfinger, I might be biased, but I agree.
Uh, Goldfinger, I agree too.
Let's
Thank you.
uh let's look at the news. We know we did have CPI coming out today. We were talking about it pretty much all week so far. Uh, Looking for this inflation data. The market may be waiting for it a little bit. Uh, Came in as expected. Forecast was 2.7%. What came in was 2.7% for year over year, month over month. Forecast was 0.3%. And that came in at 0.3% as well. So not much of a change there. We also had a Bank of Canada rate decision. Looks like they decided to cut their rates by a 0.5%. And yeah, that's about it on the news. We did have inventories out as well. Came in a little bit lower than expected, 1.4 million when the forecast was 1.1 million. And that's probably the closest I've seen that inventory number be, where they almost got it right. Uh, but
Well, right on the head. Um, really not a problem with inflation according to those numbers.
right. We do have Adobe earnings out right now as well. Looks like they beat on revenue expectations uh, and earnings per share estimates as well. Looks like creative revenue is up for Adobe as well. I'm not sure where Adobe is weighted in the equity markets, but I'm pretty sure it is part of the S&P. Anything
Did you
else you
say
got?
did you say creative revenue?
Creative revenue. Yep.
What does that mean? Do you know?
So I think from what I understand and what Adobe does with their suite of products, with the Photoshop, After Effects, all of that other stuff, I think their revenue from that specifically. I think they
Uh,
also do have like a subscription service for what's it called, for content, right? So for
uh,
images and videos and things like that, they have a subscription service for that. So revenues are up on that. It looks like. Um,
uh, it just sounded like it sounded funny, like a
oh,
kind of
like they created their revenue.
fraudulently creative revenue, kind of like Madoff did. I don't
Oh
know
yeah.
that, but now
Hopefully not
seeing
that type
that,
of creative revenue.
let's hope not. Okay.
All right. But let's go into the quote board. Let's see what moved on the day today. We have about 35 different markets that we could trade with top step accounts, not just the equities. And to the downside, we had soybean oil down 0.73%, the ultra bonds down 0.74, sorry, 30-year down 0.74%, and the ultra bonds down 1.16%. And then to the upside, we had crude oil up 2.55%. Micro Bitcoin futures up 4.84%, and nat gas, our biggest percentage mover to the upside, at 6.61%. To talk about our big four, we had the NASDAQ up 1.65%. I think it did hit 2% at one point today, or pretty close to it. The S&P is up 0.68%. We already talked about crude up 2.4 or 2.54. And where's gold on this list? Where are you, gold? Every time I do this, I say I'm going to make a separate list for just these big four. I cannot find gold on this list, but I believe, oh, there it is. Gold up 1.28% to round out our big four. Sorry about that. Got lost for a second. I got an equity chart up here, Coach. I'm looking at the NASDAQ. We did have a great trade in the house account today, getting long in a market that was trending up. New all-time highs in the NASDAQ today. Today's high was 21,820 and a half. New all-time highs, less than a percent. I'm pretty sure we are right now, less than a percent, a little over a percent away from 22,000, major level in the NASDAQ. And with the continued inflation data coming out tomorrow, PPI, we could be at 22,000 as early as tomorrow. That's not a prediction. Just reading what the market says. And, with this inflation data coming out, we do see expanded ranges, today being an example of that. And that major level acting potentially as a magnet. That's where my eyes are focused, but I'm probably not the only one.
Well, stocks have a tendency to go up, and they went up quickly this morning on that number.
Yep.
Um, Overnight, really, I guess we were just waiting for the to light the rockets when the number came out because there was nothing that happened overnight. Oh,
Flat
I
as a
can't see.
pancake.
Yeah. So let's frame that beast out. Interestingly enough, if we frame out that, we talk about not getting in front of the number.
Mhm.
Even if you wanted to buy this, there's a 50% chance it does the opposite.
Right.
But after the number, we got plenty of evidence and plenty of places to lean on. This was a classic example. What I found interesting is right after that number, the first half an hour, we frame that out.
This is really where the buying got started.
Yeah. And, what's the risk? Well, let's say if it breaks out of that low, so if you buy it in whatever that range is, that's your risk. If you can't afford that risk on a mini, I'm sure you can in a micro. That's the way I look at the risk. But I mean, we talk about urgency. The next half an hour after, even before the New York Open, it just kept on going.
Yeah, really
Very
strong move.
powerful move.
I do like to look at this news candle on the 3 minute as well. And I think it's about half of that 30-minute range, right at that 21,500 level as well.
Mhm.
You can see, you know, right away, and it really nonstop buying all day. Um, hard market to try to short. Hard market to try to short. We talked just last week about trading markets that are making all-time highs and how do you do it. In my experience, it's about finding a way to get long uh, when it's happening, because everything might look like a high until it gets higher, right? You can try to pick the tops. We got a 50-point pullback here. We got another 50-point pullback there, but there was really no initiative selling in this market. The way I see markets like this is anybody who's selling this is probably taking profits on a long, maybe a shorter time frame trader that needs to be out of that position by the end of the day, or a swing trader potentially. But there didn't look like there were shorts coming into this market because they wanted price to go lower, which makes it difficult to find that counter trend trade.
Yeah, there were, like you said, there was some counter trend trades. They were very short, and look at that. I mean, it just bounced right through it within minutes, literally.
Yep.
Um, this is a day where I used to get into trouble.
Same.
Trying to find the high of the day. Um, what helps me and what I've especially I wish I had this when I was just starting out. Pick a spot where that went under VWAP.
Never really happened. Never really happened. Um, we got a test of it, and I see Scott Martin saying when you don't get in the rally rocket, it can really piss you off. It can, if that's the mindset that you're going to take to it. Um, you know,
Yeah.
anytime I feel like I've missed a move, my job is to do two things. One, assess whether or not I think there's more room up, and if I do, then find a place to get in. I might have to do it with smaller size than I initially would have, and if I don't think there's more room up, then I have to leave that market alone, right? Where I'm just not even going to look at it, because what I won't don't want to do, and I think a lot of times what happens is when we don't catch that rocket initially, we don't catch that trending move initially, then we start to find justifications for shorting it. Uh, has anyone ever done that before, right? Where it's like, I missed a long, so there has to be a short here. It's like, or there doesn't have to be, and you just missed a really good trade. That's okay. But trying to fade the move because you didn't get in it, I've seen happen to a ton of traders. So if you don't think if you don't think there's more room up, um, leave it alone. And if you do, then try to find your place to get in. The trade that I took a trade this morning during fast markets on the breakout of this opening range. Initially when we came in, I was looking for a test of 550s, which was this anchored VWAP from the news. Ultimately, we didn't get it because that urgency that we talk about continued into the New York session. We had a ton of volume coming in, VWAP leaving that 3-minute range early. And for me, the entry is it left in the first 6 minutes, the test and rejection of that price, which was 595. Take the trade, risk the opposite side of the opening range, which was about 20 points. But let's say you didn't catch this, right? Let's say you didn't catch this. The house account didn't catch this. Actually, Hogue had a bid in at 600 and didn't get into it. But we ultimately got into a trade at 685, which turned out to be over 100 points, right? So we had to make that assessment there, right? Live today, where, great call by Jared saying, hey, I think we're going to get a pullback. That 680 to 690 area looks like a good spot to buy. That's exactly it, right? We could have forced a trade and bought it at these highs, but there is a 60-point pullback that we'd have to be comfortable sitting through, right? So for me, it's try to find an entry. Coach, you've talked about this all the time. Try to find an entry as close as possible to volume, to this VWAP. This one was pretty close, right? We were less than one ATR away on the 3-minute chart, and then we get the ultimate test of it where it holds, and a really nice trade. So just be patient. Go ahead, Coach.
That that is the definition of patience.
Yep.
I wish I could develop that. No, in all sincerity, that is patience. And one of the things as traders, we're like, we have to do this now. I get it's very common. Um, and that's really kind of the kryptonite of good trading. If you feel forced that you have to make money now, or something, I gotta get some action. It's really not the basis of good decision making.
Yep.
Um, and we talked earlier about it. Hey, and was a great comment. Sometimes you just got to let it go, or wait. Like here, well, let's see if it gets back to VWAP. All right, can I risk an ATR or two ATRs there, or a close below?
Yeah.
So, but that takes experience and some trust in the process. Um, and that's what experience does. But if our mindset is, "Fuck, I get it," whatever. I've done them all. And the bottom line is they all come under. I got to get some money in my pocket now.
Yep.
Um, that usually does not work.
We got Andrew in the chat saying, when I realized it didn't give me a spot to get in, I just sat back and watched it, caught some decent trades later. And that's it, right? That's patience, that's maturity as a trader, where it's very easy to say, man, I should have got in here and I'd be up 2 grand on a one lot. If you stay, and I'm reminding myself of this as well, if you stay in that mindset, you'll never find the next trade, right? And the same exact point value presented itself to you, although a longer trade. Really like the fact that we held this in the house account all day. Um, but if you keep focusing on what passed already, you can't see that next setup in front of you. So really nice trade here. We're getting a pullback, obviously, into the close, maybe some profit taking on this. I think I may leave these VWAPs on here, at least this one, the lower one. I'm gonna leave on here. And sorry if you can hear my dog barking. Um, I'm gonna leave this lower one on here because this is attached to that news, right? So this is the CPI VWAP, which is down at 21,720. I'm gonna leave this on here going into tomorrow, and see if that gives us any opportunity. Anything else on the equities, Coach?
That's about it. I like this comment by his royal: trades never dwell on the whole move. You only need a few points to make a living. Very good, a
100%.
very good perspective. Thanks for putting that out there.
Yep. I do
Hey,
want to pull up. Go ahead,
yeah, I was
Coach.
going to say the Dow. Did the Dow go down?
Let's see. The Dow was a little bit different today. Can you chat? Let me know if you guys can hear the dog. If so, I'm gonna go put her outside real quick. If not,
Let's
we're good. But the Dow looked a little bit different today.
Wow, Dow is a tale of a different world. Wow, money
Yeah,
rolling out of the Dow back into the NASDAQ is kind of the opposite we saw earlier this year.
agreed. Yeah, we talked about I can't remember. It was one day last week, but we had the four up of the four different markets, and we talked about the Dow and the Russell being under the 200 moving average on the 30-minute, and the S&P and the Nasdaq being above it. Uh, Here it is, right? We got under that 200 moving average and just consistently trending lower every day. Um, I haven't looked at the Dow too much, but if you're looking to sell something, this is it. And I don't know how much room we have further to the downside, but we are under that daily 200, the daily 20 moving average.
Mm.
We closed below it for the second time, 2 days in a row now. Uh, still in an uptrend, but definitely looking like some selling coming into this. Uh,
Wow, very interesting.
Take a look at the Russell as well. Russell's maybe a little bit stronger, holding that 20 moving average, and then the S and P's. The S and P's I think are really the reason the Nasdaq didn't take off today, where we had this 6,100 level that the S&P just could not find buyers above. All-time high in the S&P is at 6110 and the orders. So we're not far from it, less than a percentage move away. And again, maybe the catalyst for more upside tomorrow is that PPI number.
Yeah. Um, I don't see, the PPI, Producer Price Index.
Mm.
Well, not as important, I believe, to the Fed as the CPI.
Yep.
Um, if if producer prices go up dramatically, it's only a time before they pass that on. So it'll be interesting tomorrow. If there's any big deviation from the expectation.
Hmm.
Do we have an idea what the expectation is?
Let's see if we can take a look at it here. PPI expectations 2.6%. Previous was 2.4.
All right.
Previous was 2.4. We got a comment here from Jorge. I am so frustrated. I keep passing combines, and 2 and 3 days into the funded account, I blow them. Jorge, manage your account. If you can pass a combine, and you're doing it in a safe way and not just by over leveraging, then you're doing something right. You can trade. But if you're losing the account in 2 or 3 days, you're not managing the balance in that account. Um, Maybe you're trying to make profits too quickly, or you're over leveraged. but slow down once you get into that XFA.
I'll add to there, you should have a 15% drawdown on your equity and stop trading. Especially when you've passed the combine, now you're in an XFA, it is priority number one to keep it alive. If you're letting it go down more than 15%, then you're in danger of losing control. And we've all done that. But to prevent that, it's the big losing days that catch us all over the long term. There's one way to eliminate that, is to cut it off at 15% of equity. It's worked for me. It's worked for people I know. Maybe you should look into that. And I hope that works for you.
We got a request from John Bertone to take a look at the Dow and how would we have traded the Dow in this case. Let's see, right? If I was using that opening range and VWAP strategy on the 3-minute, we broke out of the range. Where we broke out of the range was here. VWAP at that point didn't necessarily leave the range on the close. So I'd be thinking short, right? This is a signal, but not a confirmation yet because VWAP hasn't left the range. So I'd be thinking short. And at this point, I want to try to get a sell as close as possible to VWAP once it leaves, right? So VWAP left the range here. I'd be reading this as, we're so far extended from that VWAP, I can't sell it here because this would be selling in the hole, right? At this point, we are 4 ATRs on a 3-minute away from VWAP. It's a little too far. So at this point, what I'm telling myself is, if you get a test of VWAP, sell it. And this would be my sell here. My stop would be back in this opening range. And wasn't the biggest trade ever because the momentum to the downside kind of stopped. But this would be, my entry should be around here somewhere. But we can see how that angle of VWAP kind of flattened out and we started to range until we got into the close. If I'm selling here, great. What I want for continuation is this red line to continue that downslope, which means sellers are continuing to come in and push this market lower. But good question.
Yeah, very good question.
We did not do nat gas yet. We kind of stuck on the equities right now, but let's move on. Let's go to gold, and then I'm gonna go to nat gas instead of crude. Even though crude did move today, I want to take a look at nat gas. Here is gold. I want to bring up something that Anne-Marie talked about yesterday. Shout out to Anne-Marie again for filling in yesterday for Coach Paul. She was going to be on as a guest anyway, and then it just kind of worked out. Shouldn't say worked out, Coach. I hope you're feeling a lot better. But it kind of gave Anne-Marie the ball and just let her go. But we talked about this measured move yesterday, where she measured out this consolidation area that we had down here, the high to low range of it, and then stacks them on top of each other, and that's her target. We can see where we closed yesterday. If you guys remember, that 2720 was 50% of that. That's where we closed. Just so happened to be our lows for the day as well. And then we ultimately got the target, which was one more of those measured moves. So shout out to Anne-Marie on that. Really great trade here. And the rally might be back on, Coach.
Yeah, we've been waiting. Let's look at the daily.
Yep, this is the daily we have up here now. We're back above the 50-day moving average. The 20 is starting to trend up a little bit here. And of course, the 200 is way out of the way.
Well, yesterday was the key. We broke out. Inflation is within expectations, and we took off. So I'm a technician, and that's why. When I was an economist I'd get my eyes ripped out.
You have a lot more opinions.
Opinions, and none of my clearinghouses ever took my opinion for a margin. It just didn't. They rejected me. So
yeah, the markets are moving again. Coach Hoop says, "Thank you, China." China buying gold again. So what I'd be looking at on the daily just before we go to the half hour is now
Mhm.
this highest volume candle that we had here on the daily. I believe that is close to the highest volume we had on the year, and it's top 5 in volume for a day that we had in gold all year. The high of that candle is 27.83. Right now we're above 50% of that candle now as well. Let me get that price. That price,
Wow.
50% of that is 27.34. So we're filling this imbalance. I'd be looking for that as the next target to the upside, and then all-time
Wow.
highs
Is that a 3-bar reversal?
on the daily.
Yeah.
This right here.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Look at the indecision here, or the decision that we're not going lower.
Yeah. Yeah. Or someone was waiting.
Right.
Whatever it is, that in my opinion, in my eyes, is very bullish chart.
Very much so. We're back above the 200 moving average. We can see the 20 and the 50. This is on the 30-minute chart now, trending pretty strong over the past couple of days. This 50 and the 20 kind of acting as a support anytime we come back into them, giving a nice opportunity to take longs off of it. Let's look at last night's open, which is, gotta find it. We had some urgency last night,
Yeah,
and the
we did.
retest, man, that perfect retest.
And then wow. It's interesting when we had that urgency, did we get a one-to-one trade there? I think obviously we
Oh
did.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think we got a so
Um,
if you, let's say if the risk was make a new low and we got in at the high of the range, risk was 4 points, we'll call it. We got a 4-to-1 at the highs.
Okay.
Yeah, 4-to-1 at the highs, and for the day it was like a almost a 9-to-1. Um, Really nice move. I love when the markets give this second opportunity, right? And this was on the CPI print here, which, man, kind of wish I was looking at gold on this, right? Because we have all the volume above price in that CPI print. I'm gonna go down to a shorter time frame chart. Let's go to 8:30. Yeah, right. This is a good buy signal, and this is not a suggestion to trade the news because like take a position into that news. But off of that reaction, that's a great buy. Where we're still rejecting at these lower prices. Where if you didn't catch the overnight move, it gave you the same opportunity to take the same trade. And this one was going to happen a little bit quicker because we have more volume trading. Really nice trade here in gold.
Boy, that looked like it looked like this the NASDAQ.
Yeah,
We had the
yeah, it
big
does.
move right off. Just kind of okay, we own it now. What a nice trade.
Yeah, really nice move. If I'm looking to trade gold, I'm looking to buy it, looking for places to buy it. I'll be on slow markets with Dakota tonight, and when we talk about gold, I'm looking to the upside. Now, if the market presents an opportunity to take a sell for a day trade, I'm keeping the overall time frame trend or the higher time frame trend into consideration. Right, it's an uptrend. It may present an opportunity to downside, but the way I'm looking at that, if I take the trade, it's a counter trend trade and manage the expectations that I have for that. Do I look at gold coming all the way back down to 2,700? Personally, I don't. It could. Anything can happen, but I'm going to go with limited expectations to the downside if I do find a short trade at all today.
Well, coach, would you take a trade down to 2,700 and manage your risk?
A short down to 2,700?
No, no. If you bought it and it went down to 2,700.
Oh no, no.
No.
I'd be out way
So
before that.
right. So I just wanted to, and anything you do, make sure you can afford the risk. I just want to push that idea on everyone.
Yep. All right. Anything else on gold, Coach?
No, looks very bullish to me. I'll be keeping a closer eye on it.
Awesome. Let's go over to the energies. I'm going to go to a 2-up on the energies. Let's look at crude oil and nat gas today. We talked about crude oil maybe not being the energy market that's presenting the best opportunities. And then, of course, crude makes a liar out of me and has a 2% move to the upside today. Because that's just naturally how it's going to happen. But we did have inventories out in crude today, looking at 30-minute charts for both of these markets. Here's crude on the left side. There was the urgency in crude as well. Man, look at that.
I was asleep for that.
Let's buy it. That's what they said in the beginning. The one thing that crude did have kind of going for it, we weren't near the highs of that range, right? We've been calling the lows of the range the 67 to 68 area, the highs of the range 70 to 71. The way I looked at it yesterday, we were kind of in the middle there, if not leaning towards the low side, because where we closed, we were around that 68. We were lower than 68 half. So for me, that feels like a 50-50 area. The market can go either way. But ultimately, what we did was trade back up to the highs of this range. 70 50s were the high of the day. The reason I want to look at both of these charts together, nat gas just has been consistently on that top percentage movers list. Again, today to the upside, up 6% on the day, and just presenting more opportunities on a daily basis to trade than crude has been, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Trade
it's
either
getting
one.
close.
Go
It's
ahead.
getting close to that 200-day moving average.
Nat gas.
Yeah,
I think so. On
on
this
a
chart,
daily.
yeah, on this chart on the daily, we're at it right
Yeah.
now. That 20-day, 200-day moving average is right at 3.35. We'll call it, and we closed above it today, and that's been a target since we've been looking at this for a week.
Yeah, with on the non-continuation chart, I have
Okay.
it here. Telling you in a second. We still have a little way to go.
Hmm.
Um,
What price is that at, Coach?
I'm gonna tell you in a second. 30 356.40.
56.40.
So a little bit. And for those of you who have listened, because natural gas expires every month, a continuation chart will add the difference or subtract the difference of the, and it throws off the numbers a bit. This, when I look at a non-continuation chart, it's just looking at that expiration contract without rolling it. Natural gas will trade 3 to 4 years out every month. So there's no need to have a continuation chart. So it will make a difference in daily charts.
Gotcha. We got a question here from NSlug. If volume is following price closely, do you feel more or less comfortable buying throughout the day? Way more comfortable. I don't like if I'm in a long or when I'm in a long, I don't love price getting far away from volume because that usually means that we'll have some type of reversion to it. But in this case, right, where we see a lot more tests of this VWAP and that angle never flattening, this is to me an A plus trend day, right? Where there might be multiple ads to this trade, multiple executions of ads and, taking positions off. But yeah, if this looks like this, right, where we had a little bit of a difference in the NASDAQ, right? Where in the NASDAQ at one point today, if we look at that 3-minute chart, we got extended from that VWAP. I don't feel as comfortable buying this. But this here in nat gas, yeah, I want to buy as many times as possible. This dog is
Well,
going nuts upstairs.
wants to
She's
buy
going,
the natural gas.
yeah, she's going crazy. All right, where are we going from here?
Someone's asking about Bitcoin, and
Oh,
yes, I did end up buying it earlier.
Let's go to Bitcoin and Radeon. Can you go to NQ? It's down now. Yeah, we had a little bit of selling into the close and the NASDAQ. Not surprised. Um, I don't know that the NASDAQ is a short here, in my opinion. This just looks like some profit taking into the close for me. Micro Bitcoin, coach. Here we are on a 30-minute.
When we got over that 200 earlier, we're
I just
still in
removed the
the bullish
indicators.
mode. Oh, it's all right. You can go to daily if you want.
There we go.
Look, last 2 days we tested the 20. We held it, curling a little higher. 20 is still positive. We did not settle below it. And we go to the half hour. Let's see where we could lean to get in. On the buy side, and I know it was right after that number also. Now we started last night, which is, using this, Bitcoin trades literally 24/7. It's always open. It never
Right.
closes. It's a different animal. So last night we had the break. Which to me, that trade, I don't measure it that way because the cash market in Bitcoin doesn't stop. It's
Right.
not like there's an open or a close. So volume doesn't seek an opening or a close. So just looking at the 200, we closed above it sometime with some volume early this morning. I think right after the number. That's where I got in. It was about 8 o'clock. Let me see.
Yeah, this is above that 200 right here. That's about 7:30 your time, 7:30 Central Time here
Yeah, and it was, I liked, but
on that
yeah,
news.
7:30 on that news again. Stayed above it, hit a decent rally, where we're finishing near the highs. Um, Looks pretty healthy.
Yep.
Um,
Bitcoin moving like an equity market. Looks a lot like the NASDAQ.
yeah, doesn't it really?
Yep.
So yeah, there was a Bitcoin, nice buying. Really impressive that it held a 20-day moving average 2 days in a row, where it just ripped from there. So, and what I liked about that trade, even if I didn't buy it early, I didn't have, I could lean against that 200 moving average
Yep.
without much risk. Um, so, uh,
We got some questions here. One from NSlug. I'm going to answer this one real quick. In the case of sim accounts, do you consider the equity the drawdown limit? Yes, right. So if Coach Paul is talking about, a lot 12% or 15% to your max loss limit, that's on the drawdown and not on the advertised account amount, right? If you have 150K combine or XFA, you don't have $150,000, right? So do all your measurements based on the drawdown in that account. Another question here from Allure Beauty: how to identify trend? Can we trust any indicator or use price action? It depends on how you view the markets. I use an indicator. I use VWAP to identify a trend. We've shown a couple of examples of that today, where if VWAP is trending on an angle like this, that's telling me the trend is to the upside, right? In the case of the Dow, where on a shorter time frame, somewhat trending lower, but not as aggressive. This is telling me a move to the downside, but maybe not as aggressive. Coach Paul, how are you going to identify trend?
moving average, 200 in VWAP. And going into that, can I trust any of them? That's a very good question.
Don't trust anyone.
There, nothing is 100%, but I trust that I can use that as a level that I can take good risk. Because nothing, and I said, there is nothing here that is certain. So when we use the word trust, we're kind of like saying, well, there's a lot of certainty,
Yep.
but the only
Trust but verify.
certainty, trust but verify. Very good. The only certainty we have in trading is we're going to have uncertainty, and it took me 20 years to realize that. It's funny. It goes to another question about being an economist. Um, and I was looking for certainty, and it got me in a lot of trouble because sometimes I would be right, and then I thought, wow, yeah, I'm so right because I defined all the fundamentals, and then except for I had no exit plan when I was wrong. I just wasn't right yet, or the market was wrong, or yeah, there's a litany. So in trading, there are times where you know, we trust but verify. It's, with VWAP, I want to go with the flow. We've listed a few examples here where VWAP takes off out of the opening 3 minutes. Well, that's something that I can trust will continue, but because of uncertainty, I trust that this is going to work, but I'm only willing to lose a couple $100, whatever it is. I can't go to a point where I can risk. It's got. I trust it's going to keep going, and I don't put a stop in, and I blow out an account. So there's the difference. I mean, it's a great question. I only trust that I can take good risk because that's all we have. So,
Agreed. We got a question from Nelson here. If volume doesn't seek an open or a close, and I think Nelson was referring to what you were saying with Bitcoin, Coach, where there's not a specific time where volume comes in. What does it seek? In that case, price, right? Volume is looking for a specific price where it wants to interact. And in the big, and that happens in every market, but in Bitcoin market specifically, that could happen at any time. So if the markets are near a price that um, entices business to come in, then that's where it's going to execute their business. In spot Bitcoin, they can do that all 24 hours of the day. Uh, and then M asks, how do you deal with feel confident if you see price zooming down or up, but volume is non-existent? It's one or two people. When do you think they finish or other players reverse their position? If I see price moving and volume is not going with it in a short time frame, I'm usually looking for the point where that volume becomes unsustainable. And when I take one of these trades, whenever it happens, if I see it, I'll take it and I'll kind of go through the setup. But it usually is an opportunity to fade that trade for at least uh, a my version of a scalp, right? If I see volume aggressive or price aggressively going in one direction and there's no volume behind it, or there's unsustainable volume behind it, right? Let's say it happens in nat gas a lot actually, and like something like this in nat gas, right, where we get a ton of volume. This kind of came out of nowhere, and then fading that move at the highs presents an opportunity to take a trade. Uh, Anytime I'm reading volume, I'm looking for the sustainability of that volume. If they all of a sudden do 10x the volume average in a 3 minute candle, the likelihood of the next candle being that high is fairly low. So I may fade that move. Uh, what other markets do we want to talk about today? I know there was a ton that moved. There was a ton out there.
oh, bonds,
The bonds. All right, let's look at the 30.
30 year.
Let's look at the 30-year. Got our moving averages up. We're back below the 200 and trending lower.
Yeah, it was, for relatively inline news, bonds were down a point. We're
Hmm.
32 ticks, $1,000. Um, and if we look at the daily, we rejected the 200 moving average. Um, Kind of heavy action. Um, Heavier than the shorter term interest rates. So there we go. We're at that 20-day moving average. Let's get a possibility. PPI is not friendly tomorrow. We could see some decent move in the bonds. I was kind of um surprised at how what at the size of the move on the downside.
Looking at the Fed Watch tool, just because we're looking at the bonds right now, 98.6 probability of a 25 basis point cut to not tomorrow, next week with the FOMC meeting. That's next Wednesday. 98% probability of a rate cut, which would tell us, right, if rates are going down, prices should be going up. But the operative word there is should, because the last time they cut rates was the high of the market. So just have to keep that in mind. But yeah, really nice move here, Coach. Have you been trading the treasuries at all? I know you look at the 10-year a lot as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um I missed the move.
Mm,
I was not I was kind of in my bed.
yeah.
But I was considering that inflation's within the range of, and it doesn't seem to be a problem. That's a pretty big move to the downside. Uh, I think it has, that 20-day moving average is right there. We close under it, and we could pick up some steam and move lower. So it's on my watch list.
Yep. We got a question here. What about ICT and SMC? Uh, I think ICT concepts. There's validity in ICT concepts. Um, it's another way to look at price action, to look at the markets and to analyze the markets. Just like anything, right? I am a volume trader. Uh, Nothing is the answer, but everything is also the answer. Um, it is a way for you or whoever trades that style to analyze the markets, but ultimately we have to decide when we get in and out of the markets. And if that's the way you go about it, then great. I think there is a lot of, again, validity in those concepts. I find that in my trading, there's a lot of overlap as well. So yeah, I think it's great.
Coach,
What's up?
let's throw one to our old friend Coach Hoop and look at the cattle.
I mean, look at it, right? We have the 200-day moving average here, this white line here. Cattle looks a lot like crude in this case, where it's pretty choppy. Um, but on a shorter time frame, if we go down to a 3-minute chart, I know exactly what this is going to look like. Man, talk about urgency. And it's
Yeah,
going back
that's
to yesterday. Steak price is going up.
yeah. So I'm glad I bought some and froze them.
So Coach Hoop says cash is at 193. Interesting. So cash is above the futures price right now. Interesting. And these are contract highs. Shout out to Coach Hoop. Always looking. Coach Hoop, I think, looks at more markets than we do, to be honest.
Yeah.
That man looks at everything. Um, but shout out to Coach Hoop. This looks like a, yeah, really nice. I haven't looked at these in a little while, but great markets to trade. Presents the same opportunities. We can see we're looking at, same technical setup. This could be any chart, right? This could be the NASDAQ. This could be the S&P. Um, Looking at yesterday as well. Just a trending market. Right now, if you don't have an opinion about what you trade and you just like to trade technical setups, yeah, this looks great, Coach Hoop. Uh, may keep this up on the board tomorrow.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
kind of sad that I love meat. I love.
Pause.
I don't want to pay up. Um, if I would have bought those, I could afford to buy a steak. But no, nice call. And it looks, if we looked at that daily, I don't know what's going to turn this price around.
Hmm. Uh, Rich says we need a better diversity of markets like this in fast markets. I agree. We try to. Anytime I'm on there, if there's another market moving, I will take a look at it. If you ever look at listening to fast markets and maybe you don't want to trade the NASDAQ, that is usually the focus, which I get. Most traders at Topstep are trading the NASDAQ. Listen to Eddie. Eddie's usually there in the background. He'll call out what's happening in the Russell, in gold, in the Dow. He's usually trading it as well. And it's never usually on the screen unless the NASDAQ and the ES are dead. But listen to kind of hints that you get from Eddie. And again, he's not doing that to say, yes, you should trade this. Everything we do on the show, everything we do on Topstep TV is for educational purposes and not a suggestion to take a trade, but maybe an opportunity for some education. Hey, look at another market if the one you're staring at is not presenting a good opportunity. Uh, we had a question from someone that I wanted to answer. Tiana said, why did you choose that range candle specifically? It was the 3-minute opening range. 3-minute opening range. So 9:30 Eastern time, 8:30 Central was when the cattle market opens. So 3-minute opening range, and then the same setup of VWAP trade from there. Uh, so when do you guys stop trading your live accounts? Being that next week is rollover, uh, I don't know that I'll stop trading. I may just not be as aggressive or as eager to look for opportunities. Maybe go to the gym a lot more midday. But I don't think I'm going to stop trading really at all, unless the markets are completely dead. And then I'll know that from the start of the day, right? If I come to the charts and the first hour or two are consolidated, I usually have that time allotted to trading anyway. So what else am I do? Take a nap? I could, but if I don't get a trade there, I might be a little quicker to leave my desk than to sit here and wait for a trade all day. But good question though. We definitely have to be aware of rollover. The closer we get to the end of rollover as well, because that usually means consolidation. But we'll see that in the price action when it really starts to have an effect.
Yeah, it doesn't affect me as much. Um, Sometimes I think that we can blame rollover
It's like
for
the
some
boogeyman.
poor trading. Yeah, for some poor trading decisions or just losses. But just be aware. Know the day, and for top step traders, you don't have to worry about getting caught. When March is the lead month, that's the only thing you're going to be able to trade. The bigger problem comes if you don't have that and you have an open position, and no one here has an open position. But it can screw up short-term volume, but that's not going to be a big problem if you're just trading the front month. So um, what's going to happen is it's going to start slowing down.
Coach, we got a question from Walter. What is rollover?
Rollover is when the front month expires and it moves to the next month. In the S&Ps, NASDAQ, and financials, they have quarterly expirations. So in this case, it goes from December to March. So it rolls over from the December contract to the March contract, which will be the lead month. In other futures like natural gas, crude oil, there's a rollover every month. It goes from one month to the next. It goes from December to January. So in the equities, because it only happens every 3 months, it has it's unique, but that's what rollover is.
Thank you, Coach. A couple of questions here. Trevante Crawford, I want to get to your question, and thank you. You're trading minis. Okay, so I'm going to get to Jaws' question first. Jaws asked Coach Jay, earlier when you were on Topstep, a statement was made about NASDAQ future contracts, which were sitting at a higher price than the market and had positive delta. Could you explain this? Yes. So let's pull up. I need to get rid of all of these layouts. Okay, here we go. Depth of market here, right? So what we were reading, and if you go back and watch that session, Jared was looking at Bookmap. I personally don't use Bookmap. I just read the depth of market, but same idea. We were looking at passive sell orders, right? So above the market on the ask, there's going to be passive sell orders there. So you'll hear us say, "Oh, there's 100 offered at 76.20. There's 200 offered at 21,800." What that means is there's a passive seller sitting out there on the market saying, "Hey, if we get to this price, I want to sell." A lot of times, what we'll see happen, and what we had happen today, was the market kind of act like a magnet towards those orders. You'll hear Hogue all the time say that the market's job is to facilitate trade, and hey, somebody wants to trade up here, so the market is going to gravitate towards those orders and make a decision. Is there a market participant that is willing to take out that 200 lot order or not? The first one that we saw was at 21,700 today. And if we go back to the NASDAQ, 21,700 earlier this morning. I'm going to go to a shorter time frame chart. I'll put a line up at 21,700. So you see right around here is the first one we called out. And you see this kind of hesitation a little bit before it, right? Where the market is deciding, and there was about 150 contracts sitting here. The market's deciding whether or not there's a participant that's going to take this out. If not, that could lead to some selling. But we were already in a long position here. So when I see something like that, I'm thinking position management. The delta was positive, which means that there was more aggressive buying on the day. Delta is the difference between buying and selling. We'll just keep it simple that way. And if delta is positive, then that means there were more aggressive buyers on the day. Then Trevante's question was, I've been taking solid trades as of late, but nervous about sizing up. What has been you guys' psychology on going from 1 or 2 contracts to maybe 5 to 10? And Trevante is trading the minis. Coach, I'm gonna throw that one to you.
And it's a big difference to go from 2 to 5. I think, a lot of people want to size up quickly. And the rule of thumb for sizing up is, does it fit your equity? If your equity has doubled, then double your size. If you're just trading on 1 micro and you're just practicing, yeah, go up 2. And if that's still working, go up to 4. But before you go any further than that, it has to align with your equity. How much money is in your account? If it's too big, then you have to be right. And what I mean is that you have to have your back testing of your system has to be 90%. So while it looks great, because we all want to get, like on good days, son of a bitch, if I had 5 on, I'd be up 10,000. But that kind of thinking doesn't measure of, well, if I was wrong. So
Yep.
when you're sizing up, a couple things to go back and test. Am I trading too small right now? Am I a $4,000 account and I'm trading 1 micro? Okay, then you can say, okay, well, go back and see if you would be doing 2 or 3 or 4. All right. But if you've been trading 2 or 4 and you want to go to 8 to 10,
It's a it's a doubling your risk.
that's a lot. And another one is, can you handle the swings?
Yep. Yeah. What I would say to that, and I 100% agree with you. Uh, the way you ask the question, right? Sometimes the answer is in the words you use. I'm nervous about scaling up. If you're not nervous where you are right now, you're in a great spot. I wouldn't add anything to make you nervous, especially if the equity in your account, like Coach said, isn't going to be able to sustain that, uh, the added emotions of those P&L swings, right? Those numbers get big real quick, uh, when we start doubling the size. So build up to that point, right? Maybe instead of doubling the size, add one. Right? Think about anything else, right? If I went to the gym today and I hadn't been in a little while, so I went to the squat rack and I put 225 on the squat rack. At one point, I could squat a lot more than that. But if I go from 225 to 350, I might not be here talking to you guys right now, right? I might be still
Doubled
on
up
the
in the
gym
hospital.
floor. Right. So, add progressively, and not that big gap because you may be able to sustain it. But in the way you ask that question, there's some hesitation there, for good reason. For good reason. So good job asking it. But we had Jake Ricci on the other day, and he's number 3 on the leaderboard, and he says he trades 2 minis max.
Pardon me?
2 minis max, and he's number 3 on the leaderboard, uh, and says he does not see a need to scale up. So just keep that in mind, right? That's somebody with over 200 grand account balance in a live account and doesn't see a need for him in that account balance. He could, right? He could ask the risk team for 20 contracts. They would give it to him. I don't need it, right? So it may take a little longer to reach your goals, whatever they are, if we're not scaling up. But the you know we don't need to. We are at time, but we got, man. Why does an hour go by so quick? I see why Dakota extended his class to an hour and a half. Um, one more question here from Wizard TP. Sorry for asking this late, but do you believe in break even? If so, what's your process? The way I look at break even, if I've already managed the position and seen some profit, then I'll go to break even. I personally don't like to go break even on the initial position size because break even doesn't invalidate the trade. So either I'm going to move it to a place where I can take some profits or not, and then accept the loss from there. But let's say I was in 5 contracts and I've already taken 3 off, then I may go break even on the runners and just let those go. What about you, Coach? You like break even or not?
I don't aim for break even. Sometimes I can get to break even, but I, it really has to do with your strategy. I trade less, so I give it more room. I don't mind taking losses, but I don't like getting stopped out with a small loss, or a tiny loss or a break even, just to give up a bigger move. Um, that's how my trading strategy works. If it works for you, yeah, but I'm not a. It really doesn't work for me. For scalping, yeah. If you're scalping, I mean really short term trading. There's an old term is, a scratch is a win
Yep.
because you took some risk and you didn't lose money. So you can think of it as a win. Excuse me.
Good, Coach. Uh,
Yeah,
Coach,
sorry about that.
all
But
good.
it doesn't work for me. But if you're a scalper, yeah, there's lot to be said for it.
All right, we are at time. We're going 5 minutes over, but thank you all for the questions. Thanks for hanging out. Put a link to the chat for a World Poker Tour stream. Our boy Rips is going to be on there playing with Phil Ivey, who he was really excited about playing with. It's almost like being able to get on a basketball court and play with LeBron. Uh, Rips is going to be one more poker stream tonight, Coach. I don't know if you've seen any of them, but they've been pretty good.
Yep.
Um, I actually assigned it to my VIP team kind of as homework. to just watch the risk management. And I think Rips does a great job of risk management on the table. Some of the folds that he has a great hand. And he's just like, you know what? No, I can't put the risk behind this. I'm going to fold. We'll be excited to see what he does tonight. And I'm sure 3,000 of the viewers of that stream will be traders, which it has been so far the past couple of days. But anything you got before we go, Coach?
Good luck, Rips. Yeah, I watched some of it. I couldn't watch 6 hours.
Right.
Um, but poker's a great place to learn about risk management and
Yep.
account management, and he does it well.
100%. That's all I have as far as notes and all that stuff goes. Trade well, manage your risk. I'll see you all for slow markets tonight with Dakota. And in the poker tour chat. Thanks, Coach. Glad you're feeling a little bit better. Get some
Glad to
rest.
be back. All right.
We'll talk to you
Bye,
soon.
everybody.
Have a good one.
All right.